We have a lot to cover in this episode. Will RLUSD take the place of USDT? The question is that. Something is undoubtedly going on with Ripple stablecoin, thus we have a ton of fascinating news items and articles to read. We are aware that MiCA regulations are already causing USDT to be delisted in Europe. Will the United States pursue it in the same way here? We're going to discuss Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, because he made the audacious prediction that 10% of the world's GDP would leave the financial system and move into the cryptocurrency space. We'll examine what that implies and how it might affect the values of assets like Solana, XRP, and Bitcoin. Without further ado, take a seat and unwind. Let's go right into a $96,725 Bitcoin. In the last day, it has increased by 0.92%. The current price of Ethereum is $2,685. It has increased by 0.94%. Here, XRP is experiencing a slight decline, but guess what? I still enjoy coming on this show every morning to inform you that XRP is more than $2. That is a really positive indication. It is still up more than 9% at $2.68. Given that USDC is still at 99 cents and USDT is approaching $1. The total market value of cryptocurrencies is a cool $3.2 trillion. We simply can't get that breakthrough to reach $3.50 and then $4. Not quite yet. It will arrive. Guess what? North Carolina. As we witness this, numerous states are beginning to release this. According to the report, a measure to invest in Bitcoin and digital assets has been introduced in North Carolina. According to the report, North Carolina is the most recent state to propose legislation permitting the use of public monies to purchase digital assets such as Bitcoin. Take note of the way they describe digital assets. They're not merely stating that Bitcoin is the only investment option. Bitcoin is cited as an example when people say that investing in digital assets is possible. We already know that the Bitcoin maxis will claim that North Carolina only permits Bitcoin investments, but it is simply untrue, people. According to the report, the measure gives the state treasury of North Carolina the power to invest public funds in digital assets as long as it complies with stringent security management and supervision requirements, in addition to potentially producing favorable returns for our state investment fund. Investing in digital assets like Bitcoin establishes North Carolina as a pioneer in technological innovation and acceptance, Hill added. According to him, the digital assets' average market valuation over the previous 12 months was at least $750 billion. That's enormous. It's enormous. Therefore, we will witness an increasing number of states beginning to invest their treasuries in the digital asset industry. Then, remember this as well. A week ago, this was announced. The CFTC, the USDT, and RLUSD will be impacted by this. According to the report, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission would host a symposium for prominent players in the market, such as Coinbase, Circle, MoonPay, Ripple, and Crypto.com, discussing innovative projects for the digital asset markets in the United States. Recall that a few years ago, Carolyn Pham, the chairman, met with Brad Garlinghouse. Why are we discussing this? Well, remember. I suppose this is public, says David Schwartz. According to Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple, MoonPay received a $160 million loan from Mike Novogratz to aid in the launch of the Trump coin. Thus, you witnessed the Trump coin launch with assistance from Ripple and MoonPay. The CFTC digital asset market pilot is then examined, along with MoonPay and Ripple's participation. Fascinating, huh? The question is, where does this go? What's the larger picture here? The Trump token launch was not just intended to enrich himself. This is the beginning of something more significant in the Bitcoin markets. Please pardon me. This was done to raise awareness of cryptocurrency among all Americans, including those who live outside of the country. Then Brian Armstrong gives us this. According to him, by 2030, 10% of the world's GDP will be reliant on cryptocurrency, according to Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. Take a moment to process the information. Do you realize how big this is? And keep in mind that these folks are far more knowledgeable than we are. Everyone is aware of what's happening behind the scenes. He isn't merely stating this to promote his own products. He is aware of what is being discussed and what is going on behind the scenes. I've written a whole thread about this and dissected it. Please pardon me. Since the current GDP of the world, 10% of the $105 trillion from the previous year, or $10.5 trillion, would have been related to cryptocurrency. By 2030, we would have $10.5 trillion invested in cryptocurrency, bringing our market capitalization to between $13 and $15 trillion. That's enormous. The current market value of Bitcoin is $900 billion. Bitcoin alone may be worth $5 trillion if cryptocurrency accounts for 10% of GDP. This would put its price well above $200,000 per Bitcoin, assuming a similar supply. Every coin, including ETH, XRP, and Solana, would adhere to ecosystems worth several trillions of dollars. Additionally, the ecosystem on XRP is worth several trillions of dollars. We are discussing the possibility that this item will be priced between $15 and $20. Huge people. Utterly enormous. Particularly if you're only considering XRP at $3. You're approaching a 5 to 7x in 2025, which is 5 years from today. There's nowhere else like that. I get it. Waiting 5 years is not anything we desire. We are not required to. This year, we will witness yet another pump in XRP. Keep in mind that the bull run is still going strong. The situation is far from over. It hasn't even fully begun yet, in my perspective. An appetizer has been shown to us. We're awaiting the release of that main course. What would happen if we looked at the institutional adoption of regulations? Governments would be compelled to incorporate cryptocurrency into their economies completely. Central banks may hold Bitcoin as a reserve on par with or in addition to gold. This would result in regulations that are favorable to cryptocurrency, stablecoins, DeFi, and taxes. And all of this is true. The XRP ledger and XRP. You know what? It will have a significant impact on international payments. Then, Smoke Dog released this, discussing how Ripple helped make RLUSD, its stablecoin, the unofficial digital dollar of the United States. This relates to the CFTC form that we discussed earlier. This suggests that the United States would create a regulated environment where private sector solutions, such as RLUSD, can serve as the unofficial digital dollar instead of introducing a digital currency issued by a federal central bank. After that, you notice all of these various organizations, the people Ripple meets with, and their positions on the Federal Reserve Faster Payments Task Force. They've been doing that for a while. We examined every FedNow payment. Approximately 80% to 90% of them are already connected to Ripple and RippleNet, as I believe we only completed the video on it 2 days ago. After that, we received the CFTC invitation for Ripple to participate in the pilot. Trump just launched the Trump coin with the assistance of Ripple and MoonPay. A lot of cooking is going on here. After that, we are aware of Ripple's relationships with close allies outside of the U.S. that would influence the U.S. We are aware of the IMF and the time Christine Lagarde was seated there. People, it appears like everything moves really slowly when we connect everything. It does, of course. Things will proceed slowly when discussing all the money, governments, banks, central banks, some of the major participants in the game, and JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Fidelity. Things progress extremely slowly whenever governments or money are involved. Why is that? Well, because they have to be careful not to make a mistake. Since you only have one chance at this and only one chance to get it perfect, they must make sure they are doing everything correctly. Additionally, you cannot make any significant errors, particularly while handling so much money. Thus, we have CFTC and Ripple. Because of MiCA, USDT is being delisted from European exchanges. Will the United States take on a similar role? Because they truly have no idea what is driving USDT, who is driving it, or what is genuinely supporting it. However, we can see where the money is coming from when we check at RLUSD. We are aware of its creator. We are aware of their support for it. If RLUSD turns becomes the base pairing and flips USDT, this would be significant. XRP would be used by anything that passes through there. That is how you describe the price as being really high and soaring.